Welcome to this month's episode of Senior Travel Adventures. As always, I am so happy to be able to come here each month and bring you special stories of travel near and far, share local ideas for things to do, and to share travel tips and tricks for everyone. So today's show is an extra special show. I have a couple with me, and I'll introduce them in a moment. They have traveled and all over the world, done the Camino de Santiago now many times over the past 10 years, and just are amazing. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with Tom and Nancy.
Home is more than a place. It's where you feel safe, supported, and truly yourself. At Nurse Next Door, we provide personalized in-home care, from companionship to 24/7 support, guided by our Happier Aging philosophy. We believe aging should be about rediscovering joy, purpose, and the freedom to do what you love on your terms. Locally owned and proudly serving your community. Call today and ask about your free care consultation.
Well, as I told you in my opening, I'm very excited today because I have Tom and Nancy Stokel with me, and I met them at REI where they were doing a Camino 101 presentation. And as I've mentioned, I'm going to be doing the Camino, so I was so excited to go and hear them talk about it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
It's really our pleasure. It's one of our favorite things to talk about, so thank you so much.
Well, when I found out, that you were a little bit older doing this, that was really of interest to me because, my audience is a little bit older, for the most part. And, and one of the things I'm really focused on right now is adventure doesn't retire, it rewires. And,
Exactly.
That's true.
and you've had a lot of adventures in your life, and we could talk for hours about other stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to know, how did you find out about the Camino de Santiago, and what made you even want to do it the first time?
Well, it was really very interesting. Tom and I were both in the Navy, and Tom retired from the military. So any place in the world that the military goes, we are able to go for free. So
That helps.
just saying it that way knows that we're up for a little adventure, because none of this stuff is, we don't book a flight. We go to usually Travis Air Force Base, and we say we're heading east, and we hop. So whatever is going in the direction that we want to go in, we take. And we started doing that in 2009, just
Wow.
as we got ready, for retiring years. And so we met a lovely couple who'd been doing it, maybe 10 years before us. And so we stayed connected with them. And the next year we were going to go to this, we traveled multiple countries for 3 months. Next year we decided we would go back to Spain and Portugal. And our friend said, I have a really good book for you to read, and it's going to be the Iberia by Mitchell. And Iberia is about a 4-inch book with the smallest font possible.
Oh,
But
my.
if it hadn't come from, my good friend, I wouldn't have done it. But we're driving through Spain and Portugal, just kind of rolling with our flow. And I read this about the Santiago walk. So I said to Tom, I think this is what we should do.
Right.
We could show our kids we could still do something. I had kind of a pride kind of a thing, show them we can not only get out the door, but we can walk and come back
And do it.
and do it.
Mhm.
And so that's how it started. But a few years later, actually, a few life things came up and changed. And the word for us that year was unencumbering our lives and just letting a few things go. So we did. And what better way, we thought, than just to have a backpack on our back, each other, and a small guidebook. So we did the first 500 miles. Tom? Yeah.
The first 500 miles is actually walking from St. Jean Pied de Port in the southern France, over the Pyrenees, and then all the way across to Santiago.
That trip you took, how long did it take you? That first one?
It took us 40 days. And
Okay.
people do it faster, but we had no hurry. So we were actually able to take a day off in some of the bigger cities and just relax for a day or even an afternoon. Just walk for half a day and then say, this is a good place. Let's
Right.
stop here.
Let's stop, have a little whatever, a little bite to eat.
Yeah.
That's what people, when they think about the Camino, and I know when I first started, was thinking about it, then I start seeing, that looks like fun. You can stop and have a glass of wine, and you can have some, like a little, you have like 2 breakfasts. You have a breakfast when you leave in the morning, and then you stop and have another little breakfast.
And pastry and
pastries.
along the way. Yeah, it was really interesting. We figured it out, and I'm very thankful we did, because for us and our schedule, it was easy to do. There's a guidebook that says you can walk so many miles in so many days, and it just took us less than a week to figure we did not have to do what the guidebook says. So we were sitting in a beautiful little village. We had the sun on our back and a breeze on our face. And Tom actually had a little cerveza. I try not to have my little vino, my wine, because I definitely don't want to.
Right. Don't want to keep walking.
We had a lovely little snack, and there was a beautiful little Casa Rural, a farmhouse. And so we stayed. And we said, we don't have to be any place. And it was really the beautiful beginning.
And that's what is just so amazing about the Camino de Santiago in general, is just people get there and they're just taken by everything around them and the experience. So you loved it so much, you went back again.
Every year, for about 11 years.
Actually, we were probably not more than 5 or 6 days into the first walk when we decided that this was something we really liked to do. And so we began planning our next year's walk long before we actually finished the first year's walk.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, it gave you something to talk about, too, every night, right? What are we going to do different next time? What are we going to do this time? But did the first year, did you run into any kind of like hiccups, or was everything because you were so flexible that it was like, oh, well?
I think being flexible is the best part. Is the key.
It's absolutely the key.
We had one little hiccup, and honestly, we didn't know that an ATM card expired.
Oh.
So, by the way, an ATM card expires.
Right.
And so we found that if we change money, through the ATM, ours has no foreign fee, no foreign transaction fee. And it was the best exchange rate. So about... Well, on September 30th, everything was fine, but on October 1st, everything had changed. And so that was probably a hiccup. Anything else?
No, that was about the only one. We spent the better part of a year planning it.
Okay,
So we seriously, we began hiking, got our boots and tried them out, and then the packs and the whole thing, just to really get the sense of it all. We read everything you could possibly read about it. And so we were pretty well prepared. But the thing is, flexibility is absolutely the key. You have to be adaptable and flexible, because things don't always work the way you plan it.
Well, and I think, a lot of times people, they get that everything always sounds better till you get places, right? And I love to travel, but I know that in my mind, sometimes stuff does happen, or you don't feel good one day, or in the case of the Camino, sometimes you're going to get blisters, or your shoe's not going to fit right, or whatever.
You can get sick along the way.
You can get
you're
sick.
Not going to be in familiar territory. I think the one thing for us that happened that we realized is we're not really alone. We're on the road, and sometimes there's a lot of people, and sometimes there's not many people at all, but really we're not alone. And the kindness of strangers is really remarkable. I mean, I never felt that I was in any kind of situation that I was concerned or worried about. Somebody, even with language issues, was there to kind of help. So that part was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
And what year? That was 2015?
That was 14.
14. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you went back, and every year you've done something, right? But you haven't done the same one. You've done different versions of the Camino.
We do different versions. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll do a different version, and connect with friends who only want to walk a certain portion. So we may have walked it before, but Yeah. And no matter where we are, they're always different, and yet they're always basically kind of the same. The things that I worried about the first year are not the things I worry about the second year. Of course, we're 10 years older, so there's a few things, different, but we're moving slower. And
Well, I know that we talked off camera, and you mentioned before with the thing that, in the beginning, you stayed at the albergues, which are like hostels, and that's a little bit like, I'm not going to do that myself because that's just not me. But maybe if I was younger, I don't know, maybe. But now you do it where you plan, and you have nicer accommodations, private things like that. And that was one of the things that put me over the edge of going was that I found out that someone would move my luggage for me and my bag each time, because I was really worried, because I do have some physical things that carrying a big pack would not work. And it's funny, you'll enjoy this story. I did buy a pack to try out, and I'll plug Osprey. What the heck? And I bought it from the REI outlet, so it came, and then I couldn't figure out all the straps and all the pieces. So I took it to REI and had the guy put it on me, and then he put the big sandbag with 10 pounds in it, and I was like, oh no, this won't work at all. But that's really good to do, is to try stuff out before you go, so that you don't get there in our something's a problem.
Yeah. I think that's a wise decision for anybody. And even though we pretty much are set and we have our stuff, we try it. We walk with them. We carry our stuff, and we make sure our shoes are in good shape, the whole thing, because it totally makes a difference. And it's not like we're in Spain or France or Portugal. These countries do have places, but sometimes they're not as easily accessible as they are before we leave. So it's easy enough.
Right. Or, it's like somebody, we were talking about hiking poles or trekking poles. And, they said, in Santiago, there's a whole bunch and you can just go get them. Well, but they're not your poles. They're not the poles you've trained with. So I having done a lot of athletic things and prepping and being one of those people, I used to do triathlon. So I would have my triathlon kit all set up, and, I'd have everything laid out at the transition point, and some people would just wing it. I'm just not one of I'm not a one that wings it.
The beauty is that Camino is for everyone. And so is life, and so are adventures. So really, I mean, what my adventure is doesn't necessarily have to be yours. And as for Tom and I, as we age, our adventure changes. But it's the key is that we have an adventure however we do it. And I don't think people judge you on that. No, we don't. So
it's very lovely that you do get in lucky and lovely, but you worked hard in the military to get those privileges. But that does change a little bit when you can just fly if you go and fly off. Now, are you on big military transport planes or so you're like in the back part where they have the strap?
You see the big C-17s or the C-5, the big Air Force transports. Those are typically what we fly. And for us, it isn't so much that it's free. It is free, but it's part of the adventure. It's part of the adventure of going is that you really do relinquish this need to have everything planned down to the minute. We go to Travis and literally get a room there and start watching for flights and then try to get one of them that we want. And sometimes we'll get all the way across the country. Sometimes we'll only get halfway across and then take another flight. But we consider that part of the adventure. If we had, and I think that's part of why we actually are so comfortable with the Camino, is it's the same thing. We usually try to plan a place the night before or the day before. And usually we get what we want because we go in an off-season time.
Right.
But there have been times when we've arrived at a place and we had to use the dorm room. The dorm room is just a bunch of bunks. So, but the first year we wanted to try everything. So we did the everything from sleeping on a mat in the convent to a nice, very nice room, private room. But we wanted to try everything because we'd heard about all these things and see what they were like. And then, as we have said, we made our decision that for us, we typically like to try to find a private room with a bath, and that's. And we usually get it. And so
yeah. And like you said, on the off season, and I know right now, I'm on a bunch of different social media groups, and there's one called Slow Strollers on the Camino, and I like that every day they're posting how many people come through the Compostela. I'm like, 3,000. One day it was 3,000, and and of course I'm doing the final stage, which is the most crowded. That's the Soria to Santiago, and so I'm prepared for that. But I am going in the off season too. Yeah. I'm going actually towards what they consider the end, I guess, because I guess it's a lot of the albergues and things in November start to roll up their stuff. So I didn't know that when I planned it. I was actually stringing a couple trips together, and so I backed up from one trip to start the Camino and finish it, so I could just go on to the next trip and going to Morocco.
Oh, and nice. That's nice.
So I was like, I didn't know that there was a off season, but there is. So I had to be cognizant of that. But I won't know like where I'm actually going to stay. I know which towns I'm staying in each night with the company that I'm using a company called Camino Ways.
Yeah, they're very good.
And they were very highly recommended. And I'll give a shout out to them because they know I'm going to give a shout out to them. But Jeremy at Camino Ways, we work together. And I'm going to create content, of course, about my trip, and I'm going to journal as I go. And I'm hoping to be able to interview some people along the trail too. That would be something I'd really like.
Would be awesome.
I think that'll be a lot of fun. But my time going and listening to you is just even reinforced my desire to go and the excitement that I feel to go. When was the last time you? I know you said you didn't do anything recently, but when was the last?
We went last October. Okay. Usually we go in the fall.
Okay, so that's where I'm going.
So usually in the fall, we take a couple of months, and we'll be leaving sometimes in September. We did the part of the French way, but north of Saint-Jean-du-Pied-Port, we went up to Le Puy, which is really a beautiful walk. Very different walking so much in France as opposed to Spain, and very beautiful, but in a very different way. So not as many people, certainly, but different landscape, but same ancient architecture. So it was really beautiful.
All of the beauty there. When you were, do you feel like the Pyrenees part was one of the hardest parts you did?
Yeah, it was hard. It was funny. The day before we went to the church, the Notre Dame church, and they had a choir that was there, and the choir was singing, and we sat behind a group of young people. So we chatted with them, and they go, "Oh yeah, we're leaving tomorrow," and we go, "Oh, we're leaving too." And they go, "Are you going over the top?" And we go, "Yes." "Are you?" And they go, "No, we're going around. It's too hard to go over the top." So I looked at Tom. I go, "Did we make a mistake?" No. And then we said, "You know what? For thousands of years, people have gone over the top.
They didn't go around. That's true. That's true.
Do it." And it was an arduous day. But I said to myself once we did that, oh my gosh, we could do anything.
Right. If you can cross the Pyrenees, I think that's probably pretty good.
And we did it, and it was windy and cool and hot and rainy and all that in one day and 20-something miles. But we did it.
Right. And you did it. And that's the thing, the pride of saying I did it, right?
Right. And we can do anything.
And you can do anything after that. So I know it's going to be hard for you to pick this out when I ask you this question. Favorite, just all-time favorite piece.
You're totally right. It is very hard.
I know there's a lot of great ones. So how about a couple standouts?
Our usual response is our favorite is the one we're on at the moment.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I would say probably our most epic adventure was when we did the Via de la Plata. And we started in Sevilla. It was over 800 miles we walked. And we did it March, April, and May. And it was they had a very late winter, so we encountered some snow. It was a small group, but it was definitely one of our most epic adventures. And we made it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Was there any specific one where you had something really discouraging, or did you just overcome it?
I think every day is a bit of an adventure. I mean, for example, coming out of, we hiked from Lisbon up to Santiago, and the portion from Lisbon to Porto was a little bit rough, and they'd had some fire damage. The trail really basically disappeared for a while. But we were able to work around it. You're never too far. I mean, you like to think you are just absolutely in the lost in the middle of nowhere. but then somewhere you'll hear a truck go by.
Right.
I mean, because there's a highway that's not too far away, too many miles away, or so you're never really lost.
Never really lost.
And with a GPS and a little bit of understanding of navigation, you can find. We found our way around. I literally ended up right where we wanted to be. So
well, that's good. That's good because that was something too. That was a few years back, right? They had those really terrible fires in Spain, and that probably did curtail some people's caminos.
I think the other part of that too for us was, was our second walk, and so here we are. We're all pumped from the beauty of what we had just seen, and it was hard. But this is kind of a spiritual aspect for me. But the beauty was not necessarily around me; it was the beauty that was at work within me. And so I find myself when I'm on a walk, I have these times to contemplate things, and I'm not distracted by all the things that still distract me when I'm home. So I would say it was beautiful, but if you walked it, you go, what was she thinking? Because it's not.
But in your head, because you're in your own head.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
And so I do have, so you mentioned to me before that you have 8 children, of course, adults. And I don't know how, you never got the grandkid count, but have any of them done this?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
A couple of our daughters have gone, and one of our daughters is actually leading a group that's going to be going in October.
Oh, really?
And she's using the same company you are, Camino Waves, and Jeremy has been very, very helpful.
Oh, well, that's great to know. All right. Well, because I'll be talking to him, so I'm like, all right, that's good. Is she going not the same? I'm going October. I start October 16th.
Yeah, she, I believe, is starting on the 8th, and they're starting from Porto.
They're doing it because that's so you talk about planning, right? So I haven't even done my first one, but I'm already planning my second one.
Good girl.
I'm already planning, and I do want to go Porto, and I'd like to do the coastal route. And in fact, originally I was planning to do the coastal route, but then I got a little nervous about the distance and the daily distance. Yeah. And that was one of the things about Camino Ways that drew me to them is they had what they called the easy walk version, where I could go take the 10 days to walk versus the 7 days. Because a lot of people on the final stage, it's usually a 6-7 day thing if they're going on their own and doing that. And I mentioned earlier albergues. And so for my audience, if you don't know what that is, it's similar to our hostels. Yeah. They have dorm rooms. They might have some private rooms or some smaller rooms. Typically, you eat in a communal style. Part of that, to me, is part of that Camino experience. So I'm a little bit like, well, I'm going to miss that. But hopefully I'll make enough friends that I won't need to have the communal meal experience. But you mentioned also, too, that early they don't eat until like 9 or 10 o'clock in Spain. And I'm asleep by then. So they do have pilgrim meals. Yes, they do. And I found out all about pilgrim meals. So, of course, I've been doing a lot of my own research, too. So what's next on your plate? Anything, or are you just contemplating?
We are working on, we started in Le Puy, France, and we had planned to walk about 300 miles. And Tom's brother was ill, and we got a notification that he would like us to come and be with him. He passed.
Okay.
So we left in the middle, almost the middle. And so I think that'll be our next walk, is we will go where we left off.
And finish.
Pick up that.
Finish.
Well, yeah, it's about 600 miles, this piece we're doing. And so we'll probably do another couple hundred miles next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still in the works. So
Yeah.
but the thing is that you can continue to do this. I mean, it's really just 1 foot in front of the other. It's
Right.
if you can do that, and you're going to be fine. And so what we have done in acknowledging age, which
Well,
is a
Tom,
good thing.
I know how old you are, but I don't want to ask a lady her age. So, but I do want my audience to know you're 84, right?
I'll be 84 this year.
He's going to be 84, and he's going to still keep going. So,
Yeah, most of the time I'm one of the older ones out on
Most of the time.
well, I saw some pictures of somebody who was 90.
Yes.
I think there was even somebody potentially older. But yes, our brain is much younger than this part, right? And I'm finding that out in already that, my brain thinks I'm 40 and I'm going to go out and run a marathon. Not going to happen. But I want to.
What we've done is we average typically about 2.5 miles an hour.
Okay.
And that includes breaks. So if you're walking a 15-mile day, then that's 6 hours of walking. Or if you're walking at 10 or so, then it's reduced accordingly. So it's a little less time, but that's pretty much it. Our packs are really, really light. We're at 20 pounds. We have used the service sometimes, and so then we're carrying really just a day pack, which you want to have your
Raincoat,
rain gear in there
snacks.
for sure.
some water, some snacks, sunblock, a hat.
All those things. Absolutely.
All those things.
Yeah, but it's but really you can just do it. I mean, walking is easy.
Well, and that's another thing is part of the show is all my shows are to encourage, empower, and educate that. You can do things. We're not ready for the rocking chair quite yet. We like to sit in it sometimes.
Yes, we
though.
do. Sometimes we do daydream about it.
We need to sit every now and then and sit there. But that's not our main thing. And in fact, you're not even really retired.
Not really.
Well, our time is over. It's been so much fun to have you, and I'm so thankful that you would be able to come here today and sit with me and tell me all these wonderful things, and how exciting. And I'm looking forward to hearing about when you get back to France and start again. That'll be fun. We'll talk about that maybe then. All right, well, stay tuned.
Stay alert. These words save lives. Enroll in the Village's Code Red alert system for emergency alerts via phone, text, or email. Just visit the Village website and click Sign Up Today on the bottom right corner of any page. You can also enroll in Alert OC, the Orange County Mass Notification System for countywide notifications. For fire updates, check the OCFA website or follow them on social media. Stay informed, stay alert, stay safe.
Well, thank you for watching today, as always, and I really appreciate you coming and tuning in each month and each episode as I share my travels and the travels of others. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. I am just inching along trying to gain followers, and as you know, I do this as a volunteer. I don't get money for any of this. This is a labor of love for me, but when I get more followers, I get more tools to work with on YouTube and get more traction. So please make sure you do hit that subscribe button. And take care and travel safe.